And we are live. Welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly. My name is John Preposterous Ryan. Hello and welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly. My name is John Preposterous Ryan, and you're very welcome. It's payday for a lot of people, not here obviously, but a very, very quick welcome to Marcel Kruger, part of our panel tonight. Neil Curran. Hello, Neil.
Hello.
Vanessa Foran. We're going to be joined by Olga Cronin very soon.
Oh,
we don't say what she's doing in town, but she was at the Disclosures Tribunal all week, so we're going to get a rundown on that.
She's late night shopping, John.
She's late, exactly, yeah. And Derek Mooney is a no-show again.
No show, Mooney.
No show, Derek. He's our Fianna Fáil man, so surprisingly let us down anyway. But hopefully we'll have him on next week. And we have a couple of surprise guests coming up after 11. And as it's the end of sort of dry January, I think Vanessa's already started drinking, but we'll be boozing from 11:15.
We're going to introduce the Broadsheet drinking game. Every time there's a row, you have to do a shot. Every time there's someone giving out about the banks, you have to do a shot.
Every time I pause and meander, and
every time Olga gets the shift, you have to do a shot.
That's just the same, doesn't work.
The Disclosure Tribunal we're going to sort of get into later. But Vanessa, I wanted to ask you about Leo's mortgage. On Tuesday, he told the Doyle that the bank of mum and dad is the place where a lot of people went to back in his day and should be the same now. Then we discovered
bad advice.
Bad advice, number one. But then we discovered he had himself taken out 100% mortgage. But you actually think it might be more than 100% mortgage he took out?
Well, it's all anecdotal. So, and I've always said here I'm open to correction. But his disclosures say 104 or 405,000 mortgage with AIB, and I think where he bought was 350,000. So, of course, I'm adding 2 and 2 and getting 110 or 120% there, but the idea of going to the bank of mum and dad to get a deposit for a property, for what is effectively a starter home, is very bad advice.
Why is it bad advice? I mean, if you had parents who...
Well, first of all, mum and dad are giving a gift, so there's a tax exposure. If mum and dad have it to give it away, well, fair play to them. But it's not a good way to promote sensible house buying for those that are first-time buyers.
Sorry, do you mean capital gains tax? If the
Which gift tax is the same as capital gains, yes.
Sorry, yeah.
But mum and dad would have a tax exposure
of 20%. Is
giving
it?
a gift? Yeah. Is it 22%? I don't check. It's been a while since I had to, look into capital gains. I haven't had any.
I think it's gone up to 20%, maybe as you say, 22%.
More. I'll look it up there.
It was 10%.
But the idea that people should go to mum and dad to get them on the property ladder is that it should be actually a policy rather than, an option for a family or, mum and dad wanting to give Johnny Jr. a dig out. That's a very private thing, but the fact that it actually should be a policy and have it recorded into the Dáil record, I think is reckless. It's feckless, and it was probably a bit.
But is it true though? I mean, is it not the case that parents are the number one contributors to first-time mortgages for people? No.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, was he just stating a fact? That's what I'm saying.
He was stating a generalized fact where first-time buyers may get their deposit. Okay, But traditionally, you took on the other job, you saved, you cut out the 2-3 nights a week and cut it down to one, and you didn't get the takeout. There was all different things of putting together the deposit, and that's still there. There's no, when people start saving for something, they're saving for something. But in the very early years of the Celtic Tiger, and almost before they actually recognised the Celtic Tiger, to encourage saving, they came up with the SSIA. I'm not saying we need to go back to an SSIA structure, plan, programme again, but to say that the property ladder, we're still promoting the property ladder.
Yeah.
And in order for you to avail of this rite of passage of the property ladder, you can always go to the bank of mom and dad. And I'm not sure that's good leadership from the Taoiseach, because the property available to most first-time buyers. Believe it or not, it's not.
Say that again. Sorry, we lost you there.
The bank of mom and dad. Sorry about that. The bank of mom and dad isn't available to most first-time buyers. So what you're doing is you're keeping property owning into the next 20, 30, 40 years with a very select group of people.
Yeah, of course.
And and then what you're doing then is you're almost ghettoising property owning groups into certain areas.
Yeah.
What we need to do is make renting a viable long-term option.
And I saw that isn't that just a sign for another disconnect that this government has with the society in Ireland in general. I thought that was more when I read it and heard of it, I was like, yeah, but how many people actually do that?
Do which, Marcel?
Go to the bank of mom and dad, especially with the property prices at the moment. Is that not expecting there to be much more liquidity available than there really is at the moment? So it sounds like you can always go. Your parents will always have money, regardless of their standing in society, regardless of their job situation. That's what it sounded like to me. It's like there will always be this generation that has money, which I don't think is the case anymore.
No.
So that was my reading of it as well.
But Marcel, it's a generation having money in one way promotes some sort of equality that's across that generation. But what is happening is that it's actually different sectors or society groups will always be the property owners, and they will keep owning property amongst themselves.
Of course, that's what I meant.
And then the group. Oh, apologies. Yeah.
No. Because of course there is a certain part of society that will always have the liquidity and the means to help the children get on the property ladder. But then there's like 75% of society who will never have that option. That's what I meant.
Vanessa, you said there was 80 billion in savings in the credit union.
No.
Oh no, 80 billion. Sorry, in savings in Ireland. I mean, there's on deposit in Ireland.
Well, I didn't say that either, but I believe it.
Oh, sorry. I thought we.
But actually, we are leading to what I was going to say. Was that there is enormous amount of cash assets in savings deposits in Ireland, and I know just in the league alone, there's over 16 billion. Like, I'll be at a function in March, or a conference in March, and there'll be about 200 of us in the room, and we lead organisations with over maybe probably going on 17 billion between the 200 of us.
But aren't you guys the bank of mum and dad though?
Yeah, but you see, we're not necessarily the bank of mum and dad. We might be mum and dad's pension, or mum and dad's rainy day fund.
Okay, that's a huge rainy day fund and a huge.
Well, you see, the options.
The money doesn't seem to be it doesn't seem to be doing much work. It seems to be just sitting there.
No, it's unfortunate. Again, we have two markets in Ireland. We've Dublin and we've not Dublin. And I think calling it the Bank of Mum and Dad makes it a bit too simple and a bit too familial and behind closed doors.
Yeah.
If you want to promote sensible house buying and a sensible property market, and solve what we have is an accommodation crisis. Everyone refers to it as a homelessness crisis, and there is, I accept this homelessness now, but it's actually an accommodation crisis. Of course, there's all different types of accommodation, but it's an accommodation crisis. And if you want to approach that sensibly from a strategic level, you have to come up with something better than the bank of mom and dad. This isn't a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, I also felt that he was very, very glib about emigration. He just sort of said, the options on board were just to emigrate, bank of mum and dad. But the emigration thing is as difficult as the bank of mum and dad is if you were an orphan, because emigration is not like a J1 in Martha's Vineyard. It's a huge...
no, and lads aren't coming home with the kind of money we came back with back in the day.
If they ever come.
It's true. But the idea that is a policy, the bank of mum and dad, or go on for a couple of years and put together a deposit, that's not leadership.
What does that say about their view of Ireland if they're saying go off abroad to save a few bob rather than doing it in your own home turf? There's no money here for you lads. Do it in... Neil, where was it he suggested?
Neil, you're renting, of course, you're not...
Yeah.
But you're saving for a deposit?
No. Okay. We got stung in the negative equity, the property crash. So our days are numbered in that regard. We're too old now to get property. So roll on the Euro millions.
Neil, yeah, that's Neil's plan. Lotto tickets. Yeah. Neil is buying a barge. Did you know that, John?
You're buying a barge, Neil?
Yeah, I'm just going to sail to whatever area has the cheapest property tax on the day and park up there. Actually, I have friends who do live on a barge in Dublin, and they have a small family and they're living quite happily on their barge
in Dublin. In Dublin City.
In Dublin City, yeah, and they've been doing it quite successfully for a number of years.
And which quay are they in? Do they park?
I don't know where they park up. I guess that's the luxury of living on the barge is they get it, or maybe they I don't even know if they call it a barge, but they get to kind of pick it. I think around the Dublin 4 area, that kind of towards that area, whatever you call that area, that's usually where I'd seen them shacked up.
Portobello, no, that's Dublin 6. Is it?
That's Dublin 6. Yeah, kind of around the Boland's Mill, that part of it.
And will you live
further up?
Will you live on the barge, Neil?
Would I live in a barge?
No, will you live on that barge?
Yeah, he's buying one. Yeah, it's going to be well brightly painted and everything.
It depends on whether my man Dad can give me a few quid to get me a sailing license and you have to furnish your barge then as well.
They're teaching George how to swim at the moment.
Yeah. And you have to buy a float for your keys, because what happens if you drop your keys in the side? They have to float on the water as well.
I have floaty devices for keys and for phones. So I'll let you, you could ask.
Marcel, in Germany, for instance, if Angela Merkel suggested first-time buyers go to the bank of mum and dad, what would be the reaction?
Well, the thing is, in Germany, I mentioned it on the last show, first-time buyers would be 40, 45. So their parents would probably be drawing a pension by then. So that wouldn't work really.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference, or 35, 40. So maybe I'm over exaggerating, but that's no one would be a first time buyer in Germany with 22, 24, 24. That's the difference, I guess.
In Ireland and Britain, home ownership is regarded as for parties on the right, that it would be people who own homes. I mean, it was Thatcher sold the council houses on the belief that the people who bought them would then be more economically favourable or more favourable towards her policies, towards conservative policies.
And they did the same. They followed her footsteps here. The councils here sold an enormous amount of very good quality stuff.
Yes, but the idea to get home ownership young, I think, is that's the push for that is partly to do with that reason, I think, Marcel.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, when you have a look at Germany as a market with 80 million people, and you've got 4 million people here, but I also think that there is like a psychological aspect to the whole thing, that in Ireland especially, because when I think of myself, when I was 22, I was not in a state to commit to something like a mortgage, also mentally and emotionally, you know. So why would you do it here? That's something that baffles me from time to time. So yeah, I don't know. I like, my parents would throw chairs at me if I would go to them now and say, look, sorry, would you have a few quid? I want to buy a house. So that's
a German cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Parents throwing
absolutely.
chairs at their kids.
But you know, in Japan now, where the Bank of Mum and Dad have acquired the apartment or the house on stilts or something, the mortgage could be 100 years, and the kids inherit the mortgage.
All right, yeah. So it's like a rolling. That's
yeah.
100 years. So that's a very, very cheap mortgage then, and
isn't that mad when you think of that? You're 25, and you know you've got something to look forward to when you're like really old, because basically you get the mortgage that your parents signed up for. Isn't it?
Yeah, but do you know a question I ask a lot of particularly my family home clients, where the family home is the issue, and I always ask, is this your dream house? Do you want to stay here? Is this absolutely where your heart is and you love it and the kids love it and all this? And you'd be very surprised the amount of people that say, no, if I could throw the keys in the door, I'd be gone. And, you know, they bought property just to watch Leo's promoting to get on the property ladder.
Yeah.
There's very few people go into property for their forever home. This is the house of my dreams.
Well, he got badly burnt as well, Leo, didn't he? I mean,
well, I'm not worried about him now, if I'm being honest.
No.
He's got, so quite frankly, he got burnt. He bought a property. I'm sure he'll have no problem paying back the mortgage. And, you know, Bank of Mum and Dad will one day, you know, end up the same way as we're all going to end up dead. And I doubt they'll be leaving nothing, but I doubt they'll be leaving everything to, you know, Dog's Trust.
Yeah, well, Lady Lucan did. She left all her money to the homeless, and I think to a cat charity. But
well, I actually read that somewhere as well. There's more money given to animal charities in the UK than cancer or
children. The NSPC, the animal one, gets more than the cruelty to children one. And during the show last week, Micheál Martin had, a couple of hours before, had given his speech about his.
Yes, we did it in the newspapers.
Yeah, exactly. He'd sort of just given it, and we were being told it was seismic by everyone. In fact, the seismic was mentioned 4 times in 4 different publications. So it was obviously the memo point. You know, that was the memo.
Somebody was making sure they got the right message.
They got the right message. Yeah. One spelled seismic wrong, but anyway.
Who?
So, no, I won't say. Well, we come on. I mean, we're guilty of lots of typos ourselves. So, but we ran a piece. Then the next day, or a couple of days later, was sent in to us. You know, because when you told me that, Vanessa, I just assumed, okay, this is a political thing. I'm not convinced of this kind of journey from a man who's like over 50. Was a minister for health, was around in the 80s, Grenard, everything, and it was only the advice, or only the depositions in the Citizens' Assembly that, you know, convinced him that now is the time. I thought that would have been the prevailing view of anybody outside of Fianna Fáil, but it wasn't. It seemed we had hit the wrong note, and that a lot of people felt that this was a sincerely held view of Micheál Martin's, and we were way out of line to question it. Neil?
You know, I'm not politically aligned, so I have to caveat this I do have a certain level of respect for Micheál Martin, and I've said this before, in how he handled the smoking ban years and years ago. And I remember watching the interview on the Late Late Show, and it took balls to sit there in front. The panel was mostly the Vinters. There was a lady from New York in the audience, but she wasn't on the panel, who was pro smoking ban. And they were, everyone, the audience had the cynical, you can't ban cigarettes from the pub. But he, it was a political suicide to many to kind of even suggest it, and he stood his ground on it. And while I'm not a particular fan of Fianna Fáil politics, I kind of did find myself giving him the benefit of the doubt when he came out with that brash statement. And whether, people are cynical about it and say, oh, he's only saying that because the voter awareness and all that. But, it doesn't matter. He's made up his mind now. The facts are presented. And really the reasoning behind it is kind of an afterthought. But the fact that, his party don't seem too happy, and certainly some of the vile comments online about him that we're seeing as well highlight, that, he's demonstrating a level of integrity by eating humble pie and acknowledging that maybe his view in the past wasn't the right view. So it's easy to have the cynical view, and I sound like a Fianna Fáiler, and Derek's not on.
God forbid, Neil, you'd sound like a Fianna Fáiler.
And I'm not trying to suggest that at all. Be careful now. But yeah, I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt on that, only because of his performance during the smoking ban crisis, which is probably the last time he demonstrated integrity in politics.
Well, Vanessa, were we too hard on him? I mean, I have to say that Dan Boyle,
I don't believe he has had a change of conscience at all. I don't believe it has anything to do with his conscience. I don't believe he's listened to the Assembly, and he's listened to his heart, and he's listened to his constituents, and he's listened to his life. I think that's all a load of bollocks. I think he's after spotting someone coming up, getting ready to tap him on the shoulder, and he's just taken the opposite side.
Well, that's a very unpopular view. I have to say that.
I know, of course it is.
Morning, Bodger got into a Twitter spat on Saturday morning with over that article on Micheál Martin, and
I'll have to go in. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he should never take the controls on a Saturday morning. I don't think, Bodger. It's just anyway. But and I must actually mention that I spoke to Colm McGorman of Amnesty, and I wanted to discuss that a bit later. But the Micheál Martin thing, Dan Boyle wrote today. Very good piece, contradicting what you were saying there, Vanessa. He felt that it seemed to be genuine, and certainly all the newspaper. I mean, all the columnists, all the political correspondents, all the people that have said that this is an amazingly brave. I would have actually thought that the brave thing would be to go along with what the Ardèche had recommended, because that is the very unfashionable view. And,
well. Sorry. John, I'm going to go back years now, right? And I don't know whether you remember it, but I know the other two there won't anyway. I won't have known this. But the Late Late Show, one time, on one night, when Gay was in the chair, came from the Cork Opera House. And Micheál came out with the missus onto the couch was set up on the stage of the Cork Opera House. And they were being compared to, and Gay said this, and they were lapping it up, the pair of them, Mr. and Mrs. Martin, being compared to Bill and Hillary. And at the time, Bill was only, still only primary territory. He was fighting a couple of primaries to get through, to get to convention with the Democrats. And they were lapping it up. They absolutely were. And I think he's an operator. The man is the leader of Fianna Fáil. He's been a senior minister for a long time, and he's held a number of senior ministries. And the smoking ban was brave. I give him that. He took it on when nobody else would. But I absolutely don't believe he's suddenly overnight had a conscience. Where the fuck was his conscience 30 years ago?
Well,
he was councillor then.
Here's the thing.
And Kerry was only across the road. And the Examiner had him bombarded day in, day out.
Yeah, here's the thing, Vanessa and Neil, it's not like your grandmother, sort of suddenly sort of seeing that there's, fatal fetal abnormalities or anything like that. this is a guy who was Minister for Health and Children. It was that was the brief then at the time in the early noughties. Is it credible that he's just discovered this now, or that he's just found?
I don't believe he's had a stroke of conscience at all.
But Neil,
well, I mean, we don't know. We don't have cameras inside his head.
Exactly.
But look at the flip side. You've got someone like Leo Varadkar, who we would, whether we like Fine Gael or not. Again, I'm not politically aligned to anyone. I don't give a crap. Leo, we'd probably consider a more progressive politician with his views in the modern age, and he sat on the fence with his view on the 8th. Even after Micheál came out with his statements. And I would have expected Leo to be one of the first flag wavers, because, as bad and all as he is a guy who seems to have his head screwed on certain topics. So that's the flip side of it. When you put Leo side by side, different generations, Leo sat on the fence for longer, which seemed more like a bullshit move to me. Because there's no way I'd believe for a second Leo doesn't have his mind made up. And I would be shocked if he came out and said he was genuinely pro-life. This is just my speculation, by the way.
Well, ultimately, this is a referendum. It's a yes or no. There's no constituencies. And this vote, it is going to be won and lost in Dublin. And there'll be maybe 30 boxes from Cork and maybe 15 boxes from Galway that will bring home the yes vote.
So do you think this is more about Jim O'Callaghan than the 8th Amendment? This is about sort of protecting his Dublin flank?
No, I think there's a move on.
Oh, okay. Within the party to
yeah, I do.
Topple him.
Because if you remember, I know if we went back to the show and did a playback on it, we'd find it exactly. But the night we were kind of really going by the hoof, Frances, is she staying? Oh no, she has to go. Oh, the papers that night had a bit of a headline, and it was "Sack Fitzgerald or We'll Walk." It wasn't Micheál Martin that said that; it was Jim O'Callaghan. Well, I really do think he's flexing his muscles. He's, making himself known.
That's an interesting one.
Because it's make or break for Fianna Fáil in Dublin.
Yeah, I think the questioning of people's. Sorry, just to get back to the questions of questioning people's motives for things. I mean, it's very, very dangerous libel wise. I mean, because you can't, as you say, you can't get into somebody's head. But I was more surprised, not at what Micheál Martin said, and I do find that in many ways he's a very, very sincere person. He certainly he can act sincere very well, very convincingly. But I think the position he's taken, I don't think he had much choice in the position he took, as you say, because of Dublin, Vanessa.
But given the stick he's getting, do you really believe? Again, we're speculating here, but given the stick he's getting from both his party and from, Fianna Fáilers are ingrained in the foundations of this country, whether we like it or not, which isn't a good thing. Do we really think that he's? Well, it's possible, but
what you say about the smoking ban is a good benchmark for what's going on. It's something that's probably inevitable. And it's going to happen, and better we be the guys to do it than the other guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fair. It's a fair comment. I guess we won't know, but that's the problem when you're a politician, is you can't tell sincerity from lack of sincerity.
Well, the bravery thing. It seems the braver thing would have been for him to come out in support of the pro-life position, because. Well,
I think the braver thing is changing your stance from someone who was openly pro-life.
No, sorry, I'm gonna contradict you there.
If it's a genuine Damascus conversion or whatever, Neil. But
who gets those? Jesus Christ!
But for everybody to tell us that over the last week, like journalists say that, how dare you even question the motive? seems.
Well, that's fair enough. But you were not questioning it. I'm just saying I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Right? Here's the thing. I think it was on this show. I said that Fianna Fáil made a huge mistake allowing that motion go on to their Ardèche, and they made a huge mistake. And I think Jim got. I think Jim has been sorting himself out over Christmas, and he's after taking a position. And I suspect Micheál's decision is a reaction to that.
Are they close?
I really do.
Martin, they're not close, obviously. Yeah.
I don't know, but okay. Do you know what? I'll be finding that one out. And I could tell you there's some very long-term members of Fianna Fáil, senior members, that were shocked that Jim O'Callaghan, who they thought was very liberal, and they were the words. They were shocked that he'd come out with the Down syndrome motive for girls, terminating a pregnancy, which actually I think for him to politicise Down syndrome, it's a pretty shabby thing to do. Well, I'd have expected more from a senior council to have come up with a better argument.
Well, it is the current playbook at the moment from the pro-life movement. Love both.
Yeah, I don't care. I think they're politicising a condition, and I think it's shabby.
Okay.
I don't think they've even thought about the Down syndrome population here at all in Ireland or even anywhere else. And I just think they should have known better. It was. I'm pretty disgusted that that's the way they've gone.
Okay. Well, we have to allow for the fact that Jim O'Callaghan has sincerely held views on this as well, and
good for him.
Okay.
The other side of it, and I know I'm not going to win Vanessa across, but the other point I put out there is we all know that this is such an emotive topic for people. And particularly for those that are religious. I mean, I read online. I've scoured some religious forums online, and people have talked about.
I see you're converted now. You see,
I am. We'll do a scripture reading now in a minute. And if the Catholics have been asking themselves, are they morally allowed in good conscience to vote for abortion if they think it's the right thing to do? So, if given it's such an emotional topic, again, that's another reason I would think I can't see Micheál Martin being that flippant about changing his point of view, because that's something that if he has come from a strong pro-life background, that's going to eat him up politically or otherwise. That's going to be a difficult thing for him to do. Again, we're still in speculative territory, and I can see Vanessa is like, no, Neil, you're wrong, but still.
Neil, I'm a kind of softy too, and I felt that the last couple of days. I felt like he must be given the benefit of the doubt, but I think it will be seen as quite a clever strategy. And if it is seen as, if Vanessa is right in a couple of years, we won't trust Martin again. Okay, you promise me.
Well,
let's hope that certain politicians don't get their.
Has he given up his teaching post? Has he still maintained his teaching post?
Micheál Martin.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Is he another one of the teachers?
Yeah.
I thought he was sold insurance or something.
No, he was a teacher. I think he was in Crease 3, Paul Galvin's old school.
Oh, okay. Well,
history teacher. Yeah.
Was he? Okay. Dan Boyle did a great piece today, actually, about that they're similar ages, and they were both altar boys near Turner's Cross, a church in Cork City, and one went to the Greens, one went to Fianna Fáil. Although Dan's dad was a Fianna Fáil come-on guy, and it's actually like a kind of a Jeffrey Archer novel, better written, but the column is very good today. But sorry,
in general, the dance column is.
Yeah, very good. But there was a point I was going to make. What was the point? Sorry.
Sorry, John.
He's been around forever. I mean, that's another thing, isn't it?
Oh Jesus! Don't tell me he's the same age as me.
He's 57, so that's what I can say.
Neil, but Neil, if you can find the photograph above the column, or if you can, I don't know if you can share.
I tell you, he's done well for a history teacher, anyway.
He's done extremely well. Do you think he will be a Taoiseach, Vanessa?
No.
Marcel, are you familiar with Neil Martin?
Well, actually, he could be a Taoiseach, but he wouldn't be long. He wouldn't be long-serving Taoiseach.
Okay. Well, we can see which wing of Fianna Fáil you're in. You're in the Jim wing. Do you want to see? Would we rather see Jim as leader?
No.
Okay. Have you?
Well, if you'd asked me that 2 weeks ago, I'd probably say, yeah, I probably would. But I think Jim is coming up the right flank, and he's looking to hoover up a huge, deep down. He's looking to hoover up that Ardette that voted overwhelmingly to be pro-life, and there's somebody waiting in the wings that could lead that party and totally knock shapes into Sinn Féin and Fine Gael at the moment, and she would be very pro-life, and she would be able to pluck them out of all corners of the country, whereas Jim is only known in Dublin.
And who is this?
It's a pity Mooney isn't here, though, because I'd love to know, are they going to run a candidate for the Oris?
Do you believe the Miriam O'Callaghan rumours?
No, I don't believe Fianna Fáil will ever go a parachute again. They would be a party split if they do a parachute.
You mean like the Sean kind of Gallagher half candidate?
No, but does anyone remember Olive Braden?
Yeah. From the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. He stood against... And
I do think they poached Anne Doyle as well to go to a convention. I could be wrong there. Okay. But she is a Fianna Fáiler anyway.
Well, Anne Doyle, she frequently tops those polls of who would you like to see in the Oris.
No, I think I have seen her Fianna Fáil events over the years. Yeah. Okay. But no, they won't go. If there's another parachute brought into Fianna Fáil, there'll be murder. There'll be another civil war.
God. Neil?
I can't see it.
No, I can't see it either. Although I'd give Anne Doyle a vote. I like Anne Doyle. I think she's great.
I do think Anne is a member, or she has always been a Fianna Fáil. Oh, she wasn't. She's your man's girlfriend.
Well, but also she's Dan is pretty. The chap, her chap is a kind of Fianna Fáil guy. I always see him with Reynolds people from the Reynolds family. So
is that her boyfriend? I thought her boyfriend was a former minister for sick notes.
Well, that was a long time ago, I think.
All right, so there was definitely a thing there. All right.
Well, she's seen a chap called Dan who owns the bar near the Marion Hotel. What's the Dan? Somebody.
Oh Jesus! There's hope for some.
Maybe somebody will say it in the chat pit. I don't know. Maybe somebody will add their.
Who's Anne Doyle's boyfriend?
Well, no, yeah, or it's Dan, and very nice man actually.
Anne Doyle's boyfriend. How do you spell Anne? Is it with an E?
Broadsheet's getting into the tabloid glossy supplements here.
I'm going to end up here. Where do you mean Anne Doyle's boyfriend? I know. I'll tell you what came up. The Independent. I know what heartbreak is. Dan McGrattan.
Yeah, McGrattan's pub. That's the yeah. And I think.
Right. I think she did well there.
I think he's a Fianna Fáiler anyway. Marcel, do you know what? Do you have any idea what we're talking about?
I do, yeah.
Do you know who Anne Doyle is? Do you know her background, Marcel?
No, I don't actually. That
she was a newscaster, and she was one of the. She made newscasting sexy. That's
she had a way of saying sexual.
She had a way of telling you the economy was gone to shit.
Marcel.
She actually came to one of my musical improv shows. We were staging a show in McGrattan's bar.
Oh, stop being such a...
She came in and she said to us, that was one of the best things she ever saw.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's what she gets my vote.
Blimey. God.
God,
yes. Do you
we're pickle and shallow. Yeah, I've seen him by Ando.
Marcel.
You see, I don't get to name who my clients are. Not fair.
Marcel, will you please explain what's going on in Germany? Because You always come on and talk about our banana republic. Now you guys can't even form a government. What's going on?
No, we still have a government, so that's not the thing. No, it's the socialists. They agreed to form a coalition government again with the Conservatives, which is Merkel's party, the CDU. So so they have declared the intention, and they now started their talks about what's that going to look like. And I think it will make them even more unpopular than they already are. So because we had 10 years of that already in Germany, which the fantastic results that we've seen in the last couple of years. Yeah. So I was hoping that we would get to vote again, but everyone's afraid of that because they would think that the AfD, our new right-wing party in the parliament, would get even more seats. So everyone said, no, we're going for the Grand Coalition again.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I must say that just even zeitgeist-wise and sort of like the general, end of an era, I just felt that Angela Merkel this would be the end of her now.
She's resilient.
It's incredible, really, isn't it? Like she.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, she and that's the weird thing about German politics at the moment. So she got lots of support from people who would be more considered more left-leaning or more more labor-leaning because of the refugee crisis and the way she handled it. So and this is weird. So there is no all the classic roles of left conservative right wing, and they have become a bit diluted, and that enabled the populists to gain votes. So
is it an anti-globalist message? I mean, she's not seen as right or left anymore. It's just a globalist thing, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm traditionally I'm a supporter of the socialists. I can say that. But what they've done in the last years in Germany is basically they've underwritten the politics of the conservatives. So there wasn't any proper social policy in Germany done. So but there is no then we've got the left in parliament, which are also offering no options. The Greens are good, but they also have no answers to the question everyone was asking about the refugees. All a bit hanging in the air, and this is what then enabled the AfD to gain 30% of the votes.
Yeah, Marcel, just on that, because I want to get to this conversation I had with Colm O'Gorman at Amnesty. In Germany, when Angela Merkel let in the 1 million refugees, where I mean, as somebody who would support the socialists, where were you positioned on that? Were you against that, or
no, not at all?
No, but were you against the method or the methodology or just the way it was done, or?
Yeah, so I completely supported that decision, and I can tell you a short story. There was a documentary that was made by German television last year, where they used footage from the cell phones of the refugees and tracked a couple of journeys from the north of Africa, from Afghanistan, from Syria through Europe. And there was a moment when those people all heard that Merkel had opened up the borders. And they were like Germany songs they were singing. And I was really proud of Germany at that moment when I saw that documentary about the refugees singing about Germany and going there. The practicalities of it, how it was handled at the border, and then that basically all these people ended up in giant camps or couldn't be processed for weeks on end, that was really badly handled. So I think it was a positive thing.
Marcel, yeah. I don't know what else they could do with that influx of people so quickly.
Yeah.
Because the entire what you have to mobilize to deal with that straight away.
But I don't think that
it couldn't be done to keep everybody happy.
No, but I think the problem was that it wasn't seen like that on every level of the administration.
It's true. No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
No, I think many people, especially in because I live just around the corner from one of the processing centers, if you want to call it like that, where those people had to be registered and then sent to wherever they were giving their their accommodation, and the people in administration, they thought they could do it with the headcount of people they normally have, so they didn't send out any distress signals before they would know that they had to process like 500% more people. Only after the people had ended up there, then they started asking for more budget, more people, and so on. So that was a bit, so I think on the very top level of the government,
there was a lot of bottlenecks. But it was a human disaster. So it's kind of by the seat of your pants anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that that public life in Germany completely collapsed because of that. So there wasn't any discernible kind of impact.
In Germany, can you oppose the migration policy and be pro-refugee? I mean, is that a position you can take?
That's a good question, John. Yeah, I think because that's just it's not a standpoint that I would only have in Germany. It's something I would have in Ireland as well. Obviously, you cannot bring everyone in, full stop. That's just not possible. So you need to do something else about it that you can. But I think the problem is these days that whenever you voice any support of any asylum seeker anywhere in Europe, you automatically become one of those what they call in Germany the Gutmenschen, the good people, which is used as a derogative term now.
Yeah.
So you're automatically one of these leftist daydreamers who wants to bring everybody in. So I think that's more the problem. It's not that you cannot be supportive of people seeking asylum and then saying it has to be done in a certain way. But the moment you voice support of people seeking asylum in Europe, you automatically open yourself up to criticism. I think that's the problem at the moment.
Yeah. I had anyway this conversation with Colm O'Gorman of Amnesty Ireland, because we got into the project got into this Twitter spat, and we mentioned Soros and George Soros and whatnot.
John, I missed that. I'll have to go into that now.
Well, it was a minor skirmish on Twitter, but then we had a chat yesterday, and it was a long chat, about an hour, and I was just putting forward our case that Amnesty obviously are campaigning for the repeal of the Eighth Amendment, and their publicity campaign was funded by the Open Society Foundation, which is funded by George Soros. And doing some research on George Soros over the years, you'll discover that his view on abortion is that he sees it as an effective method of population control. His number one interest is population control. That's where his billions go into. The majority of his billions go into. And
just to say, I have no problem controlling my population. I wouldn't mind.
But anyway, Colm, the conversation was off the record, but he obviously said that didn't feel that this. I didn't agree with that position at all. But there is a problem though, and we touched on it there with Marcel, is that we would be ostensibly a pro-choice website, wouldn't we? Like for 8 years, we don't take the pro-life view. Are you
going to do an about turn now and chuck us all, John?
No, not at all. No. On the contrary.
I've no tinfoil hat.
No. He's gonna say that as he talked to his
Martin.
No,
he's gonna
talk to the bank of mom and dad.
Yeah, my parents tell me how I should vote.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is that it seems like the tactics and the tactics of the pro-life side, which we've denigrated for 8 years, has been assimilated by the pro-choice side. That's how I feel. I mean, you got to care who the source of your money is. You got to care what message you're putting out there. Anyway, I'll talk a little bit later about it. But Neil, you feel like you want to say something? No.
I mean, this comes up from time to time, and maybe you're right, maybe you're not. I think it. Well, yeah, we'll see what you have to say later, and then I'll pass comment.
Yeah, well, the problem is that, like, as I said to Colin, Amnesty does a lot of good, obviously, and we don't want to upset that. And whether Amnesty is the right organization to be fighting for repeal of the Eighth Amendment is another question.
But they deal with human rights issues, so they would fight.
Yeah, no, it is a human rights issue, and I can see where he could make a good argument on it. But could they endorse pro-life, or sorry, pro-choice, or whatever they want, pro-choice organisations? Would they be allowed to do that without anyone pointing the finger?
Of course, yeah, but Colin's argument is about the standards in public office have a very draconian rules against foreign funding. I think it's based on the NORAD, IRA stuff,
Yeah.
So I said, look, I'm broadly in agreement with you about the foreign funding, and organizations like Amnesty need that foreign funding, but it's the source of the foreign funding. And he went, well, the Open Society Foundation is a human rights organization. I said, well, that's where we would disagree. And then he intimated that it was, this is conspiracy theory. And I went, actually, no, I mean, that's the one way of shutting down a discussion like this, is just saying, that's conspiracy theory, that's conspiracy theory. And I said it was ironic because of his own struggles, which I'd read in his book, Beyond Belief, which is a very good read, that he had faced, that sort of, basically conspiracy theories back in the 90s about sort of the abuse in the church. And I felt that, well, he certainly couldn't see where I was coming from, and we kind of left it at a decent place. But I am still of the view that I don't think the Soros should be entering in the abortion debate in Ireland, frankly, or have any say in the abortion debate. But that's just me, maybe. Marcel?
But I think this is a general problem in public discourse, especially online at the moment, that you will always find a way to shut down whenever you're engaging in or whenever you're having an argument and you run out of arguments, then somebody becomes a troll or a man.
Yeah.
What's the man's rights? I was talking about it with somebody else on the topic of feminism or online feminism today, and it's the same thing. Instead of saying, okay, there are gray areas that we all haven't figured out yet, everybody just starts shouting, and then everything becomes more entrenched, and there's no way of looking at facts and things. So I think you're right in that regard, in that it has become very easy to no longer have public discourse, like the discussion we had a couple of weeks back, which was a brilliant show. I really enjoyed that. But I think people shy away from that very often these days because their mind is set. They know what's right out there. They know how the world works, and I think this is dangerous, especially if you no longer allow yourself to have to view other points of view or other standpoints. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, Vanessa.
I didn't say anything, honey.
Neil.
I agree with completely with Marcel, and we see this in every topic. It tends to be the people at either end of the scale, the extreme ends of the scale, that are most vocal, and it ends up in mudslinging in a lot of cases. And this is a point that Tara Flynn has articulated very well in her. She's been doing Trojan work, particularly online on Twitter, in talking, rallying the troops for the repeal side. And I think particularly with this topic of abortion, it's that middle ground. It's those people who may be pro-abortion in certain circumstances, but not others. That's really where this referendum will be won. But just getting back to your point about Soros, John, while none of us again know the background to it. Again, in terms of what Amnesty are doing on this topic and other human rights issues, I think we'd all agree there's certainly no abuse of their position in how they conduct themselves in communicating their view on certain topics and certain issues.
I would agree with that, Neil, but with one caveat: the money that the campaign that they used, the Soros money, was the campaign about you're a criminal. You remember the one? She's a criminal, about coming back from having an abortion. In Britain, which I felt was. I said it to Colin that it was using the same emotive, the goodbye daddy, because obviously this person's having an abortion which is illegal in Ireland, but she's having it in a jurisdiction that's not. I mean, there's no credible chance that she is a criminal in any sense, although on paper, on statute, which is what Colin said, that was the point that they were trying to hammer home. But I thought it was we're using the same emotional stuff that the pro-life side is using.
True, but I suppose it is going to be it's a very polarized option. It's yes or no. It's it's yes or no. So it's going to be very divisive. Regarding Amnesty, I think the goes back to the Amnesty role is they're promoting pro-choice, but the argument is turning into an issue whether over SIPO and how they source funding.
Yeah.
So it has absolutely nothing to do with the pro-choice or the pro-life movement.
Well,
it has to do with money and how they source their funding.
Exactly, but the problem here is that Amnesty say that they were told by the Standards in Public Office that this was fine, that this grant of 180,000 or whatever was fine, and then a year later they said it wasn't fine, and Amnesty don't know whether this is a change of heart regarding Soros or whether it's a change of heart regarding foreign donations involving in the Eighth Amendment. So. And apparently there's some documentation.
Foreign donations are not permitted in any political promotion in the state.
Yeah, I feel that Amnesty have pushed the envelope to test the act, legally.
Oh, and that's fair enough, but the sum of money involved isn't big enough for them to be pushing the envelope that far. If it was a couple of million or funding for them to keep the doors open for another 5 years, absolutely you'd go up against it.
No.
There's not enough money involved.
Well, I can understand that.
It's totally distracted. It's totally distracting.
Well, even SIPO said to them, "We'd like a case to come up like this." So they've taken that bait, but I think they've just used the wrong. I mean, if it was funding from donators, personal donations, that's fine. But this is like a big chunk of money from Soros, who.
So yeah, it was an unusual transaction, and it was a large sum of money. It was an unusual transaction because a lot of their funds are probably the £10 a month coming in on DGs or the £20 a month.
Yeah,
so it was a recognisable transaction in their bank statements.
Yeah.
And so it was obviously going to be investigated, and Amnesty should have known that from a long ways off.
Yeah.
So their own compliance department or whatever should have spotted it. But we're having an argument over a completely different legislation. I don't even know why it's an issue.
How do you mean? What?
The argument is Colin McGorman and Amnesty are discussing it. It's all about the site from overseas. Their role is to promote the pro-choice movement because it's a human rights issue.
Yeah. And
he's spending more time talking about the fact he should have to give back this money.
Well, they've spent.
Deal with it offline. Keep it for your own boardroom. Don't get into a Twitter spat with Bodger.
Well, it was.
Get on with your own job.
Yeah, but Bodger was in bad form that day anyway. Sorry, and Neil, does this make any sense to you, this conversation?
It does, and the concern is that this then becomes you know, because Amnesty are one of the vocal people on the repeal side, and we don't want this issue. You know, transparency obviously is key, and accountability, credibility, that's all very, very important. But we don't want this to be a distraction during over the next couple of months. I mean, to flip the question around another way, do you think Colin O'Gorman is acting in a sincere, well-meaning way? I certainly do.
Yeah. No. I'm not.
Sorry, and I don't mean that as a confrontational comment. Just as a general question. Again, looking at the motives for the people, the recipients, I guess. You know, it's well-meaning, and as I said, Amnesty conduct themselves for the most part very professionally. So we don't want this to become a distraction to the repeal side of the debate over the next few months. Because regardless of your views on the topic, it doesn't present a healthy, two-sided view of the referendum.
Yeah, I just thought it really, I hate this word, but behoves us or whatever. It behooved us to treat Amnesty the same way as we would treat Iona if Iona was getting money from, you know, the Baptist Church of Indiana or whatever, or Alabama.
Yes, but the thing is, John, these are interest groups, and they decide what messages or what they go about their business, what they're in business for, what they're there for, or what it is they do. Okay? How they go about, and then the other side of that is how they fund that.
Okay.
Right. So frankly, I don't care a bit of how they get their money. They're taking sides in this particular what we're calling the repeal the eighth. Yeah, so why can't they just focus on what they're supposed to be doing? Just hire lawyers or somebody to deal with the rest. I don't know why we're having a discussion about how to get their money.
Well, Colin O'Gorman has made it a cause celeb because he feels that organisations like Amnesty can't function without this type of foreign funding. I thought that was a separate argument. You know,
I think it is
to the one of this. Okay, but the ends don't justify the means. Look at the source of the money and what are these people about? George Soros, Planned Parenthood. Where does the rest of his money go? What are his obsessions? Of population control? Hang on, what's that got to do with abortion? So,
but he's not using his money to change. He's not saying to Amnesty International, "We'll give you this money if you table this side of the argument." I mean, Amnesty International already had their view on this beforehand. There was no outside influence in making their mind up, I would imagine.
Well, I suppose it would be great to actually get Colin on the show on the show one night, and we can have a chat. I mean, his grievances are many, and focus on.
I understand that, John, and I would agree with Amnesty having a role to play in getting the getting the eighth taken off, right? And I would agree with that. But if he's only going to, like, if he really thinks his time is best served and his profile, because he does enjoy a very good profile, complaining about Psycho and this money.
Yeah.
I think something else is at play. Maybe somebody's deliberately distracting him from, working for the pro-choice side and being in, a large organisation that would promote the pro-choice side and would carry a lot of weight with the voter who might, because he is articulate, he has a high profile, he's very well known. Amnesty is a very heavily branded organisation that's internationally renowned. It's not just some local parish group.
Yeah, well,
or special interest group. It has wide appeal and wide face value. Excuse me. And he's getting down and having a discussion about 180 grand. He should or maybe should or not, or some government department. He's breached some compliance rule. Stick to the job, which is human rights.
I mean, again, I don't want to give away any confidence, but he is extremely passionate about this position that they've taken. I certainly, and nothing I said dissuaded him from where he was or where he intends to go, and where they go. I'm not too sure, but apparently documents exist that show that SIPO have contradicted themselves completely, and they agreed last year, and then they disagreed this year. So,
well, I get that with government or offices all the time. Just
when somebody new comes in or whatever, yeah. So we'll find out what, or it'll emerge anyway. I mean, the Eighth Amendment will just dominate political life, I imagine, until the election is called at some point.
Yeah, it will. But the referendums are very unusual in their own, because everything comes back to Dublin. You know, it's only yes or no, and they don't have the excitement of a general and all the different boxes and the different constituencies and the counts, and in one way it can be very boring as well. Everything just comes back to Dublin Castle, and all the boxes are tipped out, and there's just two numbers, you know, the yes and the no, or the pro or the thaw, or, you know.
Right. Yeah. You're getting very nostalgic, Vanessa. Do you love the? Are you a Tally woman?
Oh yeah. Need is going to be doing the tally now with me, probably in Kildare, the next general election. Aren't you, Neil?
Of course, we're excited for it.
You come down in your barge to.
I would sail up the Liffey up to Kildare.
Yeah, you get him his own special clipboard.
Marcel, just on the point I was kind of trying to clumsily make was that when you're on this, when you're on, like, say we're pro-choice and we question aspects of the pro-choice side, they come down on you like a ton of bricks, I tell you. You know, more than you'd expect from people allies of some kind. Do you understand what I mean, Neil?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's Marcel. You do. Okay.
I'm sorry. Neil as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we had a tough week with this anyway. Anyway, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, yeah. I think we've said all we can say about this topic.
Okay.
For now.
I think it's just starting, to be honest. I think we're going to have this. This is going to be like housing now every week until it's bloody cold.
I assume that people are pro-choice here. Marcel, Neil, Vanessa. I mean, I may be wrong on that.
I have to talk to my parents to see what they would tell me. That's what I knew
we were going to say.
Is that something to do with the money, Neil?
Yeah, I need that.
He sells his vote.
If I'm to go to Kildare to do the tally, I'll have to get fuel for me vote, so I'll need the man to top it up for me.
Barge,
yeah.
Well, you see, I'd love to go to Tipperary, but I'd say we'd need tickets for Tipperary.
The Liffey doesn't go that far.
And it's a long way, Vanessa. It's a long way to Tipperary.
Sorry.
All right, okay.
It's a natural born improviser.
Sorry.
So, that's like a terrible joke. Even that it's.
I know, but I couldn't resist. I couldn't.
Vanessa's writing that down for the Christmas special in 2018.
I imagine Neil will suggest that people go and ask their parents for advice. Is that the?
That's it.
That's.
Well, it wouldn't be. If we're having a referendum on the 8th, I think we should have a referendum on voting age, bringing it down to 16.
You're in favour of that, aren't you?
Well, I am, because did you listen to your man? I am, because I mean, 16-year-olds are parents as well, and they should have a say in schools and services in their area.
They're barely legally allowed to have sex at 16, and they're not allowed to drink alcohol. And we're going to suggest that they vote on topics that they don't talk about in the schoolyard.
But sure, in America they can buy a gun.
Vanessa, it's 11:15.
Have sex.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to drink now.
Yeah, you are.
Are you allowed to drink now, Vanessa?
Many shots on the Broadsheet drinking game are we in?
Yeah, Vanessa.
Yeah, you know, there's a bit of a. I'm not saying it now because I'll only start a fight.
Oh, start a fight. That's another shot.
No.
Why? What happened there? So Neil, Marcel, you can start drinking now if you wish.
Yeah, if I would have any alcoholic beverages in my household, I would. I have an empty water glass. But
Book sales aren't
You're
going
not
too well,
Irish.
Marcel. are they?
You're clearly not Irish. Ooh,
He's drank all the
sorry
champagne
there.
from the launches.
yeah,
The lunches we weren't invited to.
But Marcel,
Sorry.
we were celebrating the lifting of the Good Friday alcohol prohibition, which we've had in Ireland. Are you familiar with that?
I am indeed. I remember, wasn't there one pub in Limerick that was open a couple of years back? And they were expecting 20,000 people or something.
Well,
I know, but I'm still reeling that Marcel is in Ireland. How many years and you don't have a drop in the house?
Yeah, but
What is the priest called?
It's still January, isn't it?
Well, every day is Good Friday in Marcel's house.
Marcel, are you in admiration of our drinking in Ireland?
Well, admiration is maybe not the right word.
Well, we're terribly good at it. I mean, we're...
yeah. No,
it's not like it's an obsession with us, is it?
no, it's not at all. just a wee jar, and it's just the 1 pint.
But you drink a bit in Germany. You don't do the shots and the cocktails and stuff, but you drink a lot of wine. In fact, your best wine you keep, and beer. Yeah, you keep your best wine for yourselves. You know,
of course we do. It's only the hock that gets shipped over to Ireland to be bought in Aldi.
Is Blue Nun not a good wine then? No.
Well, yeah, sometimes.
You're going to tell me that Piat d'Or is not a good wine either. Sorry, were you ecstatic with the Good Friday announcement?
Well, I'm delighted that it can finally put this bloody issue that dominates the headlines for a day every year, and every poll. The Journal won't have to run their poll this year. It's great because we'll get to a point where it's just forgotten about, like it is in every other country. The hypocrisy around it is what kills me. Well, there's two sides to this. I'm going to show my colours now. One is, the hypocrisy of the Catholic flag wavers about the issue, given that if they're real Catholics, they're not supposed to eat meat on a Friday. Every Friday in the Catholic calendar is a fast day, so they're not supposed to consume meat on a Friday anyway. But the other side of it is the law was loosely based in religious doctrine anyway, because it was just about the sale of alcohol as opposed to the consumption of it. The flip side of it is it just also highlighted how desperately horny we were on Holy Thursday to go to off licenses and stock up on alcohol, and possibly buy more alcohol for Good Friday than we would for Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is a slightly embarrassing. I always cringed at those notions of, oh, here we go, Holy Thursday, quick to the off license, the world is ending, and I'm kind of glad to see the end of that crap as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it had been a good Tuesday, I think we could have managed. But it was a Good Friday. Like, what the hell? You pick a Friday.
I think we should have
Christ was crucified on the Friday.
I think we should do a special show called Bad Friday.
Okay. Well, this is how average Thursday. But I thought the ban was like the Angelus bongs. I just couldn't believe it was still in place.
Wasn't there? Well, you given your family connections, John, you might know this. But wasn't there a story that the dog show used to be on out in the RDS, and they used to have a bar open?
Yeah.
And the reason I know this, I know Brendan Behan wrote about these dogs. The only time he was ever out in Dublin for, he'd go to the RDS for the dog show on Good Friday because it was the only bar in Dublin open. So that could be a Crumlin story. That could be just a Crumlin story because he did live here.
No,
But I did.
That kind of shit though. It's sad. Like, I mean, people who book train rides and ferry rides to get a drink on Good Friday. I know there is the kind of rebel against the system aspect of it, but it's just sad.
But you see, I think it has more to do. It was always a day off as well.
But there was also the aspect of Lent. It was a day off on a Friday. Like, you had a complete, and you had the weekend, and you had a bank holiday. Like, if ever you were going to drink, even if you weren't a big drinker, that would be the day you'd have a drink. And the pubs were closed. It was just
I used to always play cards on Good Friday, poker, bridge.
My dad would take the boat, the ferry to Holyhead and back, because that was Not every year, but he did it. Like Neil is.
Must have a drink, quick to the port.
Well, it was defiant.
It's a competition who can get who can get
well,
the
that was for
drunkest.
beer, though. It could, because nobody had cans then. There'd be bottles in the house, all right, or the spirits, but there wouldn't be kegs.
Is it time now that we got rid of the Angelus bongs? Really, though, are they something, Neil, that like you're attached to a bit like Good Friday?
Well, it's a moment of reflection. I'm going to be a total hypocrite after everything I've just said. It's a moment of reflection, and again, it kind of people get so angry about the Angelus as well, and the Journal will run a couple of polls this year. They're great for polls, asking them, should we get rid of the Angelus? And people get so angry about it. So I kind of like seeing the Angelus stick around. I mean, the one that's broadcast on RT, so we get the visual images. I don't think they have religious symbolism in the broadcast stuff. It's usually people cutting hay and pausing, or lighting a fire and pausing. That seems it's this moment of reflection. So I don't really have an issue with it whatsoever. And to take an issue with it, I think, is really pick bigger battles.
Who introduced the bongs to RT?
Jesus said, if you don't do an Angelus, you're screwed, lads.
You're very close. Actually, you're very, very close. It was Archbishop McQuaid who suggested that the Angelus bells be rung twice a day. Marcel, when you hear the call to prayer, does it fill you with hope and reflection?
Depending on your point of view, I'm either an atheist or a heathen and will burn in hell forever. So it doesn't ring a bell with me.
But hey, he's on fire with these jokes tonight.
Yeah, I know. The departed ABM.
Yeah.
Was on record of naming somebody who was definitely going to hell, and he was going to ensure there would be many prayers said to ensure that person went to hell.
Well, I think ABM, one of the ABMs died, took his own. No, not.
Yeah, but
one of the.
I know one died. It was clear. Yeah.
No, but the ABM one was actually killed. I mean, as
don't look at me.
No.
Turn me.
No, one of them was killed. One of the ABMs. So, yeah.
What's an ABM?
ABM was a commentator on the site in the early years. Very religious, or very Catholic, and.
Now he was a troll, though. He was an absolute targeted messenger.
No, well, yeah, but I thought he was provocative, and yeah, he was definitely kind of trolly and trolled. He stalked all the any conversation about anything basically religious, but he was quite learned. He knew scripture, and well, one of the I think there was 3 ABMs in
Just
total.
not his name.
Huh? What's that, Vanessa?
I said, so does Neil. He knows the scripture. He's completely now down with it. He's a member of the Christian community. And did you deny Satan anyway in your prayers?
The exorcism. I did.
Marcel, though, would you feel, though, do you always get a feeling or a sense that I'm really in a Catholic country here? This is Catholicism.
Yeah, not all the time, but from time to time. Especially because I'm surrounded by, where we live, we have 3 Catholic schools, both for boys and girls, just around the corner. And this is sometimes that really brings to mind that how much of education is still in the hands of the church in Ireland. So it's these aspects, then you're sometimes, okay, it's still different. It's not a proper secular country in that regard, so.
Does it bother you?
Well, I don't think that in this day and age, religion should play a major role in politics. Full stop. Whatever religion.
They shouldn't be mentioned at all.
No. So, but that also means it shouldn't play any role in governing a country or a society, also in education and so on. So,
Yeah. It's when Rory Quinn was Minister for Ed in the last government, there was a great opportunity for her to really remove the religious ownership of schools.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever got any further than just talking about it.
Yeah.
He was the ideal. He was the minister to do it, to get it done.
Right. And he didn't.
I don't think it has progressed any further. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, there's Olga.
Hey.
Hello, Olga. Welcome. Olga, wanted to talk quickly about the Disclosures Tribunal. I'll do the papers. How's that?
Okay.
And you discuss. Let's discuss the Disclosure Tribunal. Firstly, the discovery of documents today.
Yeah. So when it started this morning, it turned out that a document had emerged yesterday, and it was circulated yesterday amongst the different councils. But it turned out that it was a 4-page. I think it was 4-page excerpt from the Byrne-McGinn report, which was a previous investigation into allegations from Morris. And essentially the document it was by Assistant Commissioner Byrne, Derek Byrne, and it referred to Maurice McCabe as a paranoiac, and that he, all this very damaging stuff. And it turned out that Morris himself has never seen it, because Morris actually has never seen the full published report of the Byrne-McGinn report. So it turned out that it wasn't thrashed out in a huge amount of detail, but the thing is that the document was introduced by the council for Noreen O'Sullivan's solicitors or legal team at O'Higgins. So it was like Colm Smith's council was, submitting it. So obviously MacDougall was very upset, because he said, we're getting this now after Noreen O'Sullivan is gone. And Fergus Healy is gone. And also he made the point that if this document, so it turns out, sorry, just to explain, I'm not saying this very well, but it turned out that this 4-page document was introduced in O'Higgins, or given to Noreen O'Sullivan's council in June of 2015. And so the question is, well, where did it come from? And so we did hear that it was given to Anne-Marie Ryan, the solicitor for the Chief State Solicitor's Office, who was working with the legal team for Noreen O'Sullivan, that it was given to her by Fergus Healy, Chief Superintendent Fergus Healy. And Chief Superintendent Fergus Healy was Noreen O'Sullivan's liaison officer at O'Higgins. So basically MacDougall was like, look, we've been led to believe that kind of the basis for any evidence in relation to the strategy against McCabe, in relation to the whole motivation, credibility stuff, was based on evidence that was given by 3 guards: Superintendent Michael Clancy, Superintendent Noel Cunningham, and retired Chief Superintendent Colin Rooney. And so Michael MacDougall is making the point that if it's the case that he was kind of arguing this may lead to the fact, or this might indicate that in actual fact Noreen O'Sullivan may have a part to play in the in the strategy, if you like, because I suppose when she gave evidence, she was kind of saying, look, like it was very hands-off, as Michael MacDougall said, it was like this anodyne hands-off approach, that she had nothing to do with it, because she didn't meet any of her counsel, she didn't meet the solicitor, she didn't meet any of the legal team before it started. She had one meeting, apparently a cup of tea meeting. She does like her cup of tea meetings on the 21st of May with Colm Smith, but she has no recollection of it. He has no notes of it. So we don't really know about that. But anyway, that's in relation to that document this morning. That's what that's kind of thrown up, if you like. So Charlton didn't seem to be too stressed about it. He was kind of like, he read through it and he said that there wasn't much in it that kind of surprised him. And he said, look, he was also arguing that
even the paranoid line.
Yeah, he was kind of going, well, he's whatever. He basically was saying it's an opinion, and he said, I suppose I sit here all day, every day, and listen to people giving opinions. That's it, I guess. He said, like Judge O'Higgins.
Yeah. It's interesting because that's exactly where they were coming from. I mean, I suppose they're trying to paint him as a paranoid.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And also, I suppose. What Michael MacDougall also said is that would have been given to Martin Callanan, right, when the report. So that's, I suppose that's also part of the whole,
disgusting thing. You mean
yeah, and I suppose all the backroom chatter about Morris, right? Like what was being said, how he was being referred to by the highest ranking Gardaí,
But can Noreen credibly that she had no knowledge of the strategy at this stage?
I find it really difficult. Like, for example, like Colm Smith was there today, and he was arguing that he had to get the green light from her in order to go down this route of motivation and credibility. And he said she never ever mentioned the word integrity. And he said he needed the green light because he was representing both these three guards, let's say, and others, and Noreen O'Sullivan. And so if it was the case that there was any conflict, so it's interesting because there obviously was conflict if she's saying that she had no idea, if there was these differences. So like, I suppose one of the biggest takeouts from today was that, Colm Smith said that they were given the wrong version of events. He went so far as to say that. And this is in relation to this blackmail scenario that was alleged, and then proven false by the tape, then proven false, then matching.
He's saying he should have apologised to Morris.
Yeah, so I mean that's been asked several times. Like when all this mistake became known, how come nobody apologised to Morris? That I suppose that's been asked a lot. But in regards to, sorry, John.
But a barrister is instructed. I mean,
well, this is it.
He's instructed by the solicitor.
But he said that the instructions were clearly wrong. That's how he put it. But he said we got the wrong version, and the instructions were clearly wrong.
All right, so that'll go back to the solicitor. The solicitor gave the wrong instruction. He's saying that the instructions were wrong. Yeah, it's his solicitor.
Well, the solicitor, Anne-Marie Ryan, was saying that everything was a matter for counsel. So I don't know. Yeah, but
has anybody? Have you seen this document, Olga?
No.
Has Morris seen it yet? Do you know?
Well, he would have seen it now. Like, yeah.
And will it be published? Will we be able to see it?
Well, I suppose it depends on what they decide to do with it. Charlton read it, but he asked for it not to open the screen. So I suppose they'll have to.
It must be rotten. Yeah. It must be rotten. Yeah.
Well, you heard it, Olga, and the paranoiac line was
paranoiac line, and that he shouldn't be allowed back into the station to work and all this stuff, and just the way MacDougall described it, shocking stuff, horrible stuff, damaging, very damaging. And
Noreen, if she's called back in, will she deny seeing this? Or I mean,
I assume she'll say that. I mean,
well, we know
what we've been told is that the document came from her liaison officer, Fergus Healy, to Anne-Marie Ryan, Chief State Solicitor of the Chief State Solicitor's office, and that went to council. But we heard that council had asked for it, and that it was seen as a kind of a reckoner because the Byrne McKinn report, there would have been questions in O'Higgins about that. So that's how it's kind of been said that it was. But I guess the question, was Noreen O'Sullivan aware that this was asked for? Was Noreen O'Sullivan aware that this was good? Did she know? Had she read that document? Did she know the damaging claims? But having seen her, answer questions the last few days, she's and Vanessa, you were in there for a bit of it. Like she's well trained. She's just like a politician. You ask a question and then, okay, can I just give you context?
She's not. No, it's. Well, I don't know if this is where we want to go now, John, the show. But you could actually absolutely see how she went in at entry level and worked her way up to the top. Everything you could see where everything was delegated, and anything that was put to her, it was basically, that wasn't my job. That's not my job.
No, she definitely.
I could see that, and I don't know anything about her actual career in the force. That of course she went into Templemore and ended up at the very top. I don't know what department she went in and out of, but I I would put money on that most of it was administrative. I'd say she did very few of her years, you know, actually operational level on the street or breaking cases or,
yeah.
you know.
I'll go when the tribunal started this week. The first break, Noreen O'Sullivan took the stand. She went over to Morris and Lorraine McCabe.
So yeah, so the way it is, it's like a, you know, it's like a room, long room.
It is a room, yeah.
And she just came down and she stopped because Morris and Lorraine, they sit where they always sit, you know, which is on the right, halfway up the room. And so she would have had to come down and pass them, but so she stopped and apparently it was just chit chat. It was just
yeah, but you know, it would be very hard to avoid not saying hello to anybody when you're down at that end of the room.
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
and I'm in court a lot, and we're all right. Yeah. Because I'll talk to you outside afterwards. You know, there is an element of, from the moment the judge sits, you know, you take your corners, and then everyone's back in the middle again. But it would be I wouldn't read too much into her being civil to the other side.
I know,
myself,
yeah, of course.
You know?
I mean, it was just where it happened. It was very, very close to where the press were. There was a lot of press there. Most press, actually, in fact, usually there's only about 3 or 4 or 5 journalists in there, maybe 6, but it was jammers.
Oh, it was a full house, yeah. Jesus.
So it was,
sure, they did not put job finding me a seat, I'll get, you know.
but anyway, but yeah, obviously, Morris and Lorraine, super polite.
I can't imagine for Colm Smith anything worse than a barrister of his age having to be cross-examined by Michael McDowell. You know.
Oh, listen, I'd say the crack down the law library.
Yeah, and John, actually,
sorry.
like I so I had to leave, you know, as you know, because I had to go to work. But there, from the tweets I saw afterwards, and I just had a very, very scant look at the transcript because it has gone up. But it definitely seemed like it slid into, well, why didn't you argue this back in O'Higgins? And actually, that's something that's been said before. So Anne-Marie Ryan made this point. I think I was saying that to you, John, during the week, where they said that they were all, just before Noreen O'Sullivan went up to give evidence, they were all preparing for Michael McDowell to kind of launch into, why did you go down this route of motivation and, you know, credibility? And they were prepping her for that and all the rest, but that it didn't happen. And Anne-Marie Ryan put that to McDowell, and then Colm Smith put it to McDowell as well today. And I think actually even Noreen O'Sullivan put it to McDowell. But it's repeatedly coming up. But in fairness to McDowell, he has made the point clear.
But if he didn't have the document?
No. I'm talking about just the motivation, just the strategy. You know? So because if you remember at the very start, McDowell said, you know, if she wants to come in here, I'll be very happy to, or he said that she won't be very happy if I cross-examine her. So they were all ready. But they keep saying it, but it's almost like a kind of a personal jibe. But to be fair to Michael McDowell, he has said, and he's said it repeatedly, that they were instructed that very, very morning not to stray from that particular module. So I guess, I mean, that's up to him, but I guess he was confined, his questioning was confined to whatever incident that they were discussing, because, you know, it was modular, it was all these different incidents around Cavan Monaghan. So I guess he was, you know, restricted to ask questions about that. So he couldn't, that's his argument, but it keeps getting thrown back in his face by
McDowell.
Yeah.
Do you know, but I've never heard a barrister say, on the record or off the record, I mean off the record in particular, I suppose, never heard a barrister say that he should have gone back and said sorry to someone on the other side. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's something I'd actually ask some of my colleagues. Have they ever? Has it ever happened?
He seemed completely. He'd had enough, hadn't he, Smith?
Yeah, he wasn't very happy. I mean, he was like, he talked about how his name has been, you know, he said that he's been really kind of damaged by it, and the way the language being used in media and the Dáil and by politicians, and he said it's weighed very heavily on him. And, you know, in the same way that Noreen kind of quivered at one point, she's talking about the toll on her, you know.
Her good name.
They all have spoken of this, yeah. But, you know,
What the apology that Colin Smith is talking about? What's he being sorry for?
So this is for the fact that there was an allegation which was wrong. It was put to Morris. He said it was absolutely false. It ended up it was in this letter. Then it ended up in submissions. Then it only came out after the tape.
But he was saying, Olga, I am sorry for what I said, or I'm sorry for being instructed badly, or what.
Yes, he said it would have been remiss of him not to apologize for once he found out that error had occurred. You know. Oh
right, yeah.
Sorry, John.
No, it's fine. And that would have been.
Yeah, I think I might have. Yeah, no, I was still there. I think at that stage.
Yeah, but I think he might have a professional obligation there as well. You know, if he was still under instructions from his solicitor to go to the other side then and advise them or apologise, you know, there's a boundary. You know, he's ring fenced while the case is being heard anyway. I've never heard of somebody saying that, or a barrister saying that.
Well, if they've done something wrong, I'm sure they would be happy to apologise. Olga, can you talk to me about Anne-Marie Ryan? I mean, the solicitor.
Yeah, so she was a solicitor with the Chief State Solicitor's Office, and she, like, it sounds like they were all, you know, appointed and nominated very last minute. Like, in fairness, I still don't understand why, you know, everyone knew that the commission was coming down the track since May 2014, because that's when Sean Gearan delivered his report and recommended, but they didn't get their act together until literally the week before it started. Yeah. I don't know, was that on purpose, whatever. But Assistant Commissioner Kieran Kenny, we talked about him before, he was appointed in February. They lost 6 weeks apparently by Ken Ruan, gave evidence of that. Didn't really flesh it out, so we don't know what that's about. But anyway, so Anne-Marie Ryan was appointed as the solicitor. She also talked about how kind of hectic it was. She was urgently seeking a meeting with Noreen O'Sullivan. Urgently. She was very concerned about what she saw happening on Friday. She made a note, and in her note she said, she put down the words political dynamite.
Yep.
And she had contacted the Attorney General's office. That's what set off that whole chain of communications that ended up with that email to Francis Fitzgerald that, you know, almost caused whatever. But that's what kicked that off.
Yeah.
And so she was calling it political dynamite, and she couldn't explain that. I was saying that last week. She couldn't explain or flesh that out because the Attorney General's office hasn't waived privilege. So
some members though.
Sorry?
It's just some staff members in the AG's office haven't waived privilege.
No, at the Attorney General's office, I think in Fudge, that's what we were told. But so anyway, but she was urgently seeking a meeting with Noreen O'Sullivan. She said she requested from Chief Superintendent Fergus Healy, and he told her no, she's too busy. And she's otherwise engaged, I think was exactly what he said.
Yeah.
So Colin Smith said that he knew she was looking for a meeting, and Colin Smith said that he told Anne-Marie, look, I'm around Saturday and Sunday. But anyway, this is what Anne-Marie said she was told.
You know, would she have seen this document, or been aware of this document?
Well, this document that we're talking about this morning, well, she must have, because we've been told today that the document went from Fergus Healy to Anne-Marie Ryan to the junior councils. So
but nobody's mentioned
in June. I beg your pardon?
But nobody's mentioned this.
No, this is the first time we've heard of this document.
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it?
It is surprising. But just to go back, so just for a second, just to finish that point. So she was urgently seeking a meeting. She says that she was told she's too busy. Then Noreen O'Sullivan said, oh, no. I would have met anyone. You know, she was like, I was free. There was no problem. So there's a big discrepancy there, obviously. And it's obviously crucial for timing because, you know, everything. And then Noreen O'Sullivan did have a meeting on the 21st of May with Colin Smith. She has no recollection of it. It was in her e-calendar. And I think the only person who actually had it in evidence was Ken Ruan, head of legal affairs at the Guards, because he just had it in his statement, I think, relaying that Fergus Healy had told him. And he noted that it was a private meeting. Sorry. So Anne-Marie Ryan wasn't at that meeting. So now we've heard it was a cup of tea meeting. I think it was in Garda Head. I think it was in her office actually, and 20 minutes, a meet and greet type thing.
But does he remember it?
He remembered it, but I think he just said, I think he was quite vague of the details too. And he was vague. I think he was asked, did they discuss what happened just 3 days or just a week previous? And no, apparently they didn't.
Okay.
Which is quite astonishing because there was such a furore over it. So I hope I've got that right now, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is there it must be agony for everyone in Dublin Castle. I mean,
well, I mean, think about it. Like, as Colm Smith said himself, he has no notes. He had everything shredded in the law library after O'Higgins because he said it was so secretive. It was so highly secretive. They didn't want it getting out. Like several witnesses have talked about that Friday, about how there was fears that there was going to be judicial review and that the media were going to get a hold of it. So,
And the problem is that everybody blames Morris in that camp. Don't they? I mean,
yeah.
Like I'm not sure who was the witness who came on and said about the family, other families have been just ruined because of this.
Oh, I think Anne-Marie Ryan gave evidence towards that.
Yeah. I found that odd because it seemed a kind of an emotional outburst almost. Yeah,
but I mean, I think actually a fair few of them, Noreen O'Sullivan I think did as well. I think Fergus Healy did as well. They've all kind of been like, and Colm Smith as well. Sure, he talked about, like, he said yesterday in his evidence, he said, we had to think of the consequences for these people and their grandkids, because he made the point that, like, someone would come up to someone and be like, your grandfather's corrupt,
Right.
So that's their kind of look on it all. But in the back of my mind, I just keep thinking back to the false rape allegation.
What does he think Morris's grandkids are going to think?
I know. Yeah.
This is insane.
But this is it. But I guess, and also, can I just say, just as well, just in relation to the false rape allegation in regards to Noreen O'Sullivan's evidence, extremely confusing. She doesn't recall. So we know, right, from the TUSLA module in the summer that she was told she got this false referral presented as a true referral in May 2014. Her private secretary has given evidence to say she read it and she knew of it. Then Kieran Kenny said he never sent on the amended referral. So she was in she was in the castle during the week. And MacDougall put this to her and he said, so you got this referral? And she said, yeah, but I don't remember reading it, which is kind of mad when you consider. But it's also kind of mad because her private secretary sent 2 letters to the fact, looking for updates in relation to this. And he said in his letter, I'm directed by the commissioner. I don't know, maybe that's just admin speak. You just do it without telling them. I don't know. But anyway, there's that. But also, MacDougall said to Noreen O'Sullivan, so you were never told that was incorrect. And she said no. So his point was like, so when you would have first heard of it, you wouldn't have known the difference. You wouldn't have known the difference, but what was the true first allegation, the 2006 allegation, and and she said no. And that's really confusing because,
I think also he caught her out on something that she wouldn't have known before. The verses are to or against verses.
Oh yeah. So she was talking about the error. So MacDougall was kind of trying to find out exactly her kind of, I suppose, her state of knowledge of what was going on in O'Higgins. And so he was kind of saying to her, when did you find out that this was incorrect? And she goes, I know that it was a 2 versus against, and that was, that's what, and it was all sorted out. But MacDougall was like, no, that wasn't sorted out until June. He was trying to find out what exactly her state of knowledge was in mid-May. But it didn't really... Like, unfortunately, with Noreen O'Sullivan, she just kind of talks and talks and talks and talks and talks, and you just get no answer.
Talks down the clock. I'll get. We'll leave it there. But what's next?
So Colm Smith's back in tomorrow, and I think Michael MacDougall said he's going to have another 2 hours with him. So I'd say that'll go, possibly longer. I know, more to perfect.
I know. I'd say the law library is absolutely glued to it.
Yeah, he looks
but and then the junior councils. So the way there was, obviously Colm Smith was the senior council, and then there's 2 junior councils, so they're going to be up after that. And then there's going to be I can't remember exactly who'll be up there next week, but it's supposed to be Francis Fitzgerald on Thursday and Morris on Friday. But to be perfectly honest, I imagine that'll push on because
Noreen will be called back in.
Possibly. And also, we still don't know whether Noel Cunningham, etc., will be brought in.
All right. Yeah. Olga, thanks so much.
No problem.
Thank you. Neil, Your mic is off, but I hope you can lighten the tone and give us your entertainment, your things to do this weekend and watch this weekend. Neil?
I can't hear you.
No, we can't hear Neil. There's very little going on this weekend.
Well, there's loads going on this weekend. I'm sure there is. The Oscar nominees.
I think Neil, we've lost the mic on Neil.
That's really unusual.
Yeah. There we are.
Oh, there
Hey,
There it is. They keep you on your toes. Keep you on your toes.
Neil,
From the high intelligence of Olga's update to the low intelligence of my entertainment.
Here's stuff.
We have there's 3 movies out this weekend. The one that's probably the most popular is The Crappest, or allegedly The Crappest, and that's Downsizing with Kirsten Wiig and Matt Damon. Basically, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids for adults, but it's not getting great reviews. Kind of a take it or leave it type of film. I've seen one commentator, one reviewer, whose critic has compared it with The Twilight Zone. Although that kind of thing is popular at the moment with the popularity of Black Mirror, so I'm sure people will go see it because there's fuck all else to do. Okay. Another film is Early Man, which is by Nick Park. Park. So he's done a lot of those kind of. Yeah, he's done a lot of, the Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit and all that. Yeah. So the word on the street with this one is that this isn't bad at all. So there's who's in this one? Tom Hiddleston and Maisie Williams of Game of Thrones. Maisie Williams, who heightened the issue in the accommodation sector earlier this week by commenting on her desire to buy a house in Ireland. And when you have a child of her age, is she a teenager still? Maybe she's not. Son of her age, eyeing up houses in Killiney and in places like that, then we're in a. It makes the rest of us feel bad.
We're just not living it on. We're just not living it.
We certainly are not.
Back and mum and dad. That's what we do, guys. You need to get Sadie, well groomed, and have her a child star 30 and 30.
Oh, listen,
14, 15.
I'm putting money away.
The bank of baby. The bank of mum and dad.
I'm stuffing me coppers under the mattress at the moment, saving up for her mortgage. So I am. All set. Go, Leo.
What's the third film?
No, make her a child. That's what we do. You make her a child star.
Oh yeah, have
her up on Nickelodeon, and she could be the new Hannah Montana.
Well,
next Hannah Montana.
You'll
have no problem getting a gap.
The pay is shite. The third film is, oh God, even the sound of this would put you off despite the cast. So it's Last Flag Flying. It's one of these tales where you get a bunch of older actors, and they reunite, and she'll all be a bit of banter and a bit of crack. So it has Bryan Cranston, Lawrence Fishburne, and Steve Carell. Wow. Now, to be fair to this, while the premise of it sounds terrible, it has been getting above average reviews online and from the critics. So it's a get together. Yeah, it is, but so has the cast of films, other reunion films that have featured the likes of Robert De Niro, and that they've been awful pants. And I can't think of some of the names of them now, but there's been quite a few of these kind of things. Michael Douglas is another one as well. But this one is directed by Richard Linklater, who does have some credibility, and like I say, it has the feedback from critics has been above average. So
it's nice to hear movies I haven't seen already.
What about the films that are already at the big Oscar movies? Neil, would you recommend the Dunkirk one, for instance?
Dunkirk. Now, the folks I went to see it was kind of a mixed bag in terms of their take on it. If Dunkirk was shot in IMAX. And Chris Nolan is he's a serious director. He makes a quality film. He's a good storyteller. I enjoyed Dunkirk. The spectacle of seeing on a large screen in IMAX was pretty great use of the format. But it wasn't everyone else's cup of tea. So and again, war movies are a specific genre, particularly World War One.
Neil, have you seen that?
I haven't seen that. Sorry? I think Vanessa's seen the Churchill one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman.
It's very good. Yeah, it is actually. It's just a very short snapshot of 2 or 3 weeks and it's a new take. Like, we all know how this ends. We all know the story. We all know it ends. But they've just taken a snapshot. And interestingly, I thought Gary Oldman's Churchill, they've made him very nippy. He's nipping around. Now he's a bit stupid as well. He's not as old and slow as John Lithgow's Churchill. Now, I know John Lithgow's Churchill was about 10 years older.
What about
I really enjoyed it. I thought he was a lovely Churchill. Yeah, I thought he was very sincere. The eyes and the thing and the I don't know whether it actually happened, but you read about this when he's on the tube and they're stopped and he's chatting to them all, and that I thought that was a lovely scene. And the girl in it was Cinderella. Her name will come to me. Neil knows all the names of all these stars, but she's kind of she was Cinderella. And I thought she was charming in it. I thought that was a lovely role. I didn't like Christian Scott Thomas. I thought she was too contrived. And Christian Scott Thomas. Yeah. She was literally, they just put a grey wig on the character from Four Weddings. But Gary Oldman was absolutely fantastic as Churchill. I really enjoyed it. I have to admit, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Neil, any other things this weekend?
I don't. Nothing else kind of springs to mind is what's happening. If you're into TV stuff, it's been pretty the same bland reality TV stuff. The documentary on last night, I didn't get to see it. Joanna McNally, the Baby Haters documentary, created a bit of a stir online. If that's your thing. One of the things I do want to mention though is
Neil, tell me about that, because I saw something like that trending, but I didn't.
I didn't watch it. The premise was Joanna is very vocal about the fact she is making a choice. She doesn't want kids, and the documentary is exploring Irish attitudes to that. But I haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment. But I imagine it was the usual Irish paddywhackery of, what's wrong with you? You don't want a baby. One of the things I wanted to mention though was the Oscar nominations, which we know Saoirse Ronan is up for her third nomination, which is more than some of her male counterparts in Hollywood have gotten at an older age, which is great for Saoirse and whatever Irish accent she has on the day. But
but sure, we can all do different Irish accents.
We can. If she just pick one and stick to it. One of Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water is up for a nomination for Best Picture, which is nice to see because we don't often see science fiction-y style films in that category, and also one for the geeks of geeks and film fans. The Marvel film Logan is up for a nomination for Best Screenplay, which is the first ever superhero film to be nominated for an Oscar in that category.
Wow!
So,
can I ask what the feedback is on Molly's game, Neil?
I haven't seen that. I actually thought you
I have seen it, but yeah.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Marcel, are you a cinema goer?
Yeah, but I'm more of a Netflix person than a cinema goer, I have to confess.
What are you?
Have you watched Dark, Marcel?
I did, and I really enjoyed it. But I really recommend the subtitled version, not the dub one.
I agree, completely agree. Yeah. I'd say that bar the last episode, which was a little bit disappointing, I have to say that was some fine fine webs.
The whole setting and the whole atmosphere was really, really good.
Yeah, it was one of the best TV series I've seen on Netflix in a while, I would say.
Yeah.
It's German subtitles, though.
I know, we can get past that, though. We can, Vanessa, I promise.
Well, that's work, you see. That's sitting down and having to read. If you're watching telly, like, I just want fellas taking off their shirts. I don't want to have to read.
Well, there's a dub version up there. You can watch it dubbed in English if you're
Marcel, I just want to thank you very much for joining us again. It's always great to have you on.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and it's great to hear from you. And are you bringing the Babushka's Journey on tour again? You're going to Poland soon?
Yeah. Going to Poland in mid-March. Yeah.
Oh, you're coming. Oh, we need to discuss your next.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that after the show, or maybe tomorrow. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's a surprise coming up on the show in a few weeks, hopefully.
Oh, you're bringing us on tour. Wasn't that it, Marcel? You were...
Neil,
I need a new passport.
Yeah.
Neil, thank you so much for brilliantly producing the show this evening and your excellent contributions. Thank you so much to Olga Cronin, who's been in Dublin Castle and still getting shifts.
Another shot in the broadsheet drink again.
Thank you so much, Olga, for
no
your incomprehensible reports.
I know.
I'm joking. They're very clear. And thank you very much to Vanessa Foran, who have you started drinking yet, Vanessa?
I have. I've finished it. I've emptied. Come here. Does anyone recognize the man behind my shoulder?
No. Is he an actor?
No.
Is he a Fianna Fáil politician?
No.
Is he a GAA man?
He has that grey clammy look, all right.
Is he, Vanessa, is he somebody who is involved in the Gaelic football or hurling?
No. But try the other code.
Is he a camogie coach? Is that the other coach?
Does it involve a ball, Vanessa? Does it involve a ball?
It involves a boot.
Oh,
Football.
rugby player?
Soccer.
Football.
Christ almighty.
Gaelic football.
Rugby.
The broadsheet quiz, answers on a postcard.
Get your voucher.
Really, if you want to date if you want to date this guy, I email him. This is kind of embarrassing for him, isn't it?
23 years ago today, this fella got a boot in the head.
Oh, it's the Eric Cantona thing. Isn't
Oh.
He's
Very
the guy.
good.
I am Cantona.
Cantona, yeah.
And this photograph is from his perp walk for another assault charge a few years ago.
Funny.
Well, no, he was the victim of Cantona's boot, but in this case, he gave another fella a few digs. Yeah.
God, it was incredible. 23 years ago, amazing, wasn't it? I mean,
and he was only 20 then, so he's 43 today.
Yeah, he got a belt as well from the boot. I mean, he did get a kick, you know.
Eddie Maroney'd say, a boot in the head. He got a fucking boot in the head. So, excuse me, John.
God,
yeah, that's the man there. That's him there. That's the Crystal Palace supporter from that day.
I'm very sorry for the blue language, the occasional blue language. Hopefully we'll see on the
bank of mum and dad. There'll be the swear box from mum and dad.
Exactly. Yeah. That's another fiver in the.
Yeah.
Mum and dad. Thanks, Marcel, Neil, Olga, Vanessa, and we'll hopefully see you next week or see you on the site tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Night, everyone.
Bye now. Namaste. God bless. Bye.
Bye.